Welcome back to Streaming Media NYC here in the lovely Intercontinental Barclay. I'm here today with Jonas Engwall, who's CEO of Bedrock. So, Jonas, for our audience here in the States who might not know, what is Bedrock?
So Bedrock is, I would argue, the leading streaming tech company in Europe. Since we're in the US, it's not normally how I would describe it, but since we're in the US, think of it as a European BAMTech.
So a technology partner with broadcasters.
Yeah, exactly.
Content owners. Okay.
Yeah, I would maybe qualify that and say also we operate and do business with our shareholders and also companies outside the group.
So Bedrock is a joint venture between RTL, which is in about 30 countries, and
MC's Group. Yeah,
okay.
Correct.
And you all, if I understand correctly, are in about 10 different countries in Europe.
Yeah, we are operating our streaming platform in 4 or 5 countries.
Okay.
And then, of course, people and users will be across the whole of Europe,
Sure.
accessing those platforms. We have 400 team members across 10 countries, roughly. Mm-hmm. So, a bit more background maybe. We've been doing streaming since 2008.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's what we do. We're laser focused on doing that. And it's, like you said, it's a joint venture, 50-50 for now, between those 2 companies. It's a pretty good setup for Europe.
So one of the recent announcements was something called M6 Plus, which is a platform. Can you describe that? Because it seemed like it was, in reading the documents, it was almost like it was focused on France, but I assume it goes beyond just France.
So M6 Plus is replacing Sisplay, which was the old brand. It does originate out of France, but obviously you can access the platform outside of France as well. It is a complete platform overhaul. It's really exciting, actually. We launched, so maybe there's a bit of context needed. France is, previously, if you're a Sisplay subscriber, you could access Sisplay on certain devices through an AVOD model.
Okay.
If you were accessing via smart TVs, you needed to be an SVOD subscriber. Now with M6 Plus, all of those devices are available through AVOD. You can also do it via SVOD if you prefer.
Sure.
The whole platform is a massive upgrade from a user perspective. Lots of cool new type of content and features. For example, short form content in a vertical form, which is turning out to be a real success. I mean, it only launched a week and a bit ago. We have, for example, podcast on there, which is pretty innovative for most of Europe. We have lots of cool social features, interactivity with the users, depending on the content. So there's lots of cool new stuff, including very advanced AI search, not launched yet, but coming very soon. Availability in cars. So it's a lot of stuff that is happening.
In-car entertainment is actually really fascinating, especially for VOD, because if you can deliver it to a device in the car, you can then cast it to a screen in the car. And obviously, eventually, it'll be you're delivering it to the car and potentially casting it the reverse to a handheld device. Yeah. So from a workflow perspective, when you're working with companies outside of your sort of basic stakeholders, where do you fit into their workflow and how do you enhance their workflow?
So it's worthwhile mentioning, we're not a tech vendor. We are a strategic partner in streaming, basically. Okay. Our mission is basically to take all those stakeholders and help them to pivot into the streaming world. We do this in a slightly different way from others. First of all, it's worthwhile mentioning you need scale if you want to succeed in the streaming world. I think everyone knows that by now. It's really difficult to reach scale, certainly in any European country. So from the get-go, basically, back in 2019, more or less, when Bedrock was founded in its current shape, we've been operating streaming since 2008, but in the new form, we basically said, look, we believe that you need a European scale to succeed.
Okay, so pan-European as opposed to just the Benelux countries or the German-speaking countries. Okay.
And this is our founding beliefs.
Okay.
And I mean, it's not rocket science, right? We basically have a platform. It looks and operates totally different in different countries, depending on the partner's needs and what they want to do. However, under the hood, so to speak, it's one and the same platform, and that is how we create scale, but at the same time deliver something that looks and feels totally different.
So to a certain extent, it's almost like you're white labeling an underlying technology out to skin it to whatever a particular organization needs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way of describing it. And also worthwhile mentioning is all the partners and stakeholders around Bedrock, we operate very closely together. We have a product board once every 2 months. We operate, so why do we do this? One is all those stakeholders, first of all, we only operate with leading media companies. That's kind of our profile, who really take streaming seriously. And we all together look at the future and define where the product and the roadmap is going. And this is pretty unique. At the same time, you have these leading local streaming players around the table. They all share learnings, so it's not just about the tech. Obviously the tech is really important, but they're also sharing and learning from each other, right? We're all trying to figure this out together. And it's really interesting because all of those players, today they're more or less on hybrid platforms, meaning a mixture of SVOD and AVOD, but they tend to come from different experiences. So one comes from AVOD, they might have a revenue mix of 80-20 or 90-10,
Sure.
but historically they're AVOD, so they bring a lot of experience in that field, versus someone else that comes from an SVOD experience. And it turns out that it's extremely helpful for people to sit and share the platform, share experiences, and they're not competing with each other. And it's a really nice, strong mix, and it's quite unique what we bring to the table.
So with this pan-European model, and because you're focused on streaming, would you also manage the data center relationships with pan-European CDNs, or would that be your stakeholders' responsibility to set up the legalities there with the CDN itself?
So no, so we are a very comprehensive streaming solution, right? So basically, we want to take the headache off of our partners and deal with everything. What we do offer, and to answer your question, yes, we will deal with the CDNs. We have multiple CDN partners. We have our own CDN, and we will, basically push traffic where it makes more sense. But the whole philosophy is to not burden our partners with all the quite tricky issues around tech and streaming. However, we want to give them a very flexible solution. We want them to focus their effort on what makes them unique, and we will deal with the rest, basically. That's a little bit the approach. So it's a very flexible approach, but at the same time a holistic streaming solution.
It's almost like the joke in the early days of streaming where we talked about you had engineers who understood 1 volt peak to peak, and you had engineers who understood packets. You didn't want to necessarily mix those two together, because if you did that, somebody might not be able to gain all the knowledge that they would need to do both of those. So last question, as we look forward, say look forward a year, where do you see Bedrock sort of rolling out new features? We talked about M6 Plus, but what other?
I can't give you the specifics, but we have some pretty good news and big news coming up. I mean, there's a lot of people interested in Bedrock. Frankly, it's a good problem to have. We have more people more people coming to us than we can serve, actually. So we have the lucky task of being very picky, which makes a lot of sense because we want to have the same kind of breed around the table. But yeah, I mean, we will continue to expand. Our mission is very simply put, we want to deliver streaming platforms to our partners that are on par or better when we can versus the global players, so that they can kind of compete with their local, very, very strong content,
Sure.
but on a platform that is equally or better than global giants. And that mission is not going to change. We continue to roll out features, we continue to improve the platform, we continue to onboard new partners, so it's more the same basically, but exciting basically.
Jonas, thank you very much for your time, and we'll be right back with our next interview.